Thank you for coming today. Trying a little different format today, just for your commissioners. Sometimes I do it formally and informally. I wanted to make it a little bit more like a table exercise where we can visit and talk a little bit. So this is the 2025 City of Fargo Mayor's preliminary draft budget. This is a preliminary budget. We have an opportunity over the next month to modify it in any way. All commissioners' information or any kind of suggestions are welcome during that time period. Today's presentation is designed to be informative and fully transparent. It's filled with detailed financial data. My goal of sharing this information is to start a conversation among the City Commission on how we can best collaborate to arrive at a final budget. By coming together and working as a team, I believe we as a commission can create a budget that puts Fargo on a clear path to continued success. The budget that upholds our commitments to our taxpayers and to our city employees. I have worked with our city's budget team to present best ideas in this draft budget. The budget team is sitting on each side, and I think you're well aware there are different roles. It's important to recognize how the process went to get to this draft budget. The department and division heads worked very hard to submit their requests by early May. After that, the budget team assembled requests and began its review. Meetings with department heads were held late June and early July as well. And then I worked closely with the budget team from early June to today to draft this proposal. All you as commissioners were welcome as liaison commissioners to come in on the budget discussions. As I walk through this draft budget, I will present you, the commissioners, with options. I will appreciate your feedback on those options. I want to be very clear, the budget is not just my budget, it's our budget. I have ideas, but I don't have all the answers today. I welcome your ideas and your solutions. Ultimately, there will be choices that we need to make as a commission, and I know that in that end, we will approve a budget that serves our taxpayers and our city team members. Now, out of respect for time, we only have 1 hour to cover 50 slides, and I'm asking politely you hold your questions till the end. Handouts will be given to you at the end, but I kind of want you focused on the slides as we go through this. Number one, this slide explains the basis of preliminary budgets. In a nutshell, North Dakota Century Code requires municipalities to prepare a budget at each year. Fargo's Home Rule Charter directs the mayor to prepare and present draft budget to the City Commission. You'll see here 3 major goals of this year's budget proposal. Number one, I want our city departments to be able to continue delivering excellent public services to our residents. That's something we will never skimp on. Number two, I want the city to continue investing in our team's human capital. Each of us, as members of the City Commission, have made it a priority to address employee compensation, and that's what we're trying to achieve with this year's budget. Investing in Team Fargo will pay dividends as we strive to recruit and retain high-quality city employees. Over 74% of our general fund pays for our employees who deliver services directly to the residents, businesses, nonprofits, and educational institutions. It takes high-quality people to provide high-quality services. In Fargo, we have some of the best. Our city staff are the cornerstone of what we deliver. Number three, the city must think strategically as we carefully balance our revenues and expenses. I want everybody to understand that our city budget team has methodically gone through our financials and looking for ways to diversify our revenue. By prioritizing budget goals, we know about Fargo will continue to be the regional leader across the board. We as a city are proud of our role in the metro area and what we do for our people and for the neighboring communities who rely on us. Everything we've achieved is a credit to the work of a team of leaders, each of you, along with your excellent public employees, residents, businesses, and community partners. It's no surprise that our city's national reputation is outstanding. Fargo is a crown jewel of the Upper Midwest that is regularly celebrated with accolades. Wallet Hub recognized us as the top 100 best run cities. And Fargo's drinking water placed second in a national People's Choice competition where it went up against the country's best tasting tap water in a blind taste test. We're doing fantastic. Fargo is also a magnet that attracts new residents and development every year. We have a population that has grown 160% over the last 60 years. The city now has over 133,000 residents. Fargo continues to grow both in population and geographic footprint. In response, the city's planning department has undertaken the Fargo Growth Plan 2024, an effort that will provide City of Fargo with updated direction of where to grow and how to grow in coming decades. Over the past several months, the growth plan process has taught us a great deal and affirmed many of the practices that the city already had in place. We will continue to learn from the process and implement elements of Fargo Growth Plan 2024. It will be a guiding document for our community as we continue to flourish. Thoughtful growth is important as additional people and expanding footprint require more city services. You can see from the numbers of sheer volume of services Team Fargo delivers in a year. The City of Fargo is a regional leader in providing utility services. The Fargo's regional water treatment plant purified 5.6 billion gallons of drinking water for its customers in Fargo, West Fargo, and its share of Cass Rural Water District. Our police officers answered over 94,000 calls. Our firefighters responded to over 14,000 calls. Our Information Service Department provides 24/7 internal customer support to the departments of the city. They fielded more than 13,000 tech-related service tickets. Just under 1 million items were checked out of Fargo's library system. Fargo Cass Public Health provided 15,000 face-to-face clinic and public health nursing visits. Our drivers in solid waste department picked up garbage 1.5 million times in the homes of Fargo. Our engineering and public works department maintained and serviced 551 miles of roads. As a commission, we have had recent discussion on topics that pertain directly to this proposed budget. Earlier this month, we met to talk about utility rates. Over the years, we have been very conservative in adjusting rates. But right now, we are at a critical point where increased rates are needed to keep up with the growth of our community and serve our regional partners. In this way, we will sustain the long-term operations of our regional utilities that provide water, water reclamation, and stormwater services. In June, as you remember as a commission, we met and discussed the future of our public transit MAP bus. Fargo took the initiative in its leading conversations with Metro partners about the future of transit system that serves multiple cities and crosses state lines. This year, the City Commission had 3 different discussions in February, May, and June on city employee compensation. Regional market studies show that the city needs a new pay structure. Our goal is for the City of Fargo to be competitive in the market as a desirable workplace that allows us to retain quality employees and recruit new ones. For the next series of slides, what I want to show you is the city's personnel expenses and explain investments we're making in Team Fargo. The City of Fargo Human Resources Department has developed a strategic human appropriate staffing levels for public service operations to determine the areas where Fargo currently has gaps, to develop a 5-year plan to resolve those gaps, and to create a 5-year projections for human capital budgets. The plan will be reviewed and updated annually, ensuring its relevance and effectiveness, and allow the commissioners to review. Staffing for Success is designed to address future needs and employee retention today. This would include manageable workloads, burnout, training, and professional development. The next 2 slides show the city's growth in certain job categories. For example, the number of Fargo Police Department employees has grown 29% in the last 10 years. As we plan for the future growth of the city, we have asked the head of every department, our subject matter experts, to share their needs and priorities for the future. That gave us projections for how many staff they feel to be necessary in the next 5 years to meet service expectations. And as you can see, it's 13%, 15%, 18%. So as the city grows, we continue to grow as the staff and the members that take care of the services the community needs. As a reminder, the general fund is a summation of the revenues and expenses associated with executing the city's around-the-clock activities to provide the citizens of Fargo the services they need. This is the city's primary fund, the one of which property taxes are deposited. Our numbers on the next slide show the growth we see in positions funded by enterprise funds. These are the business-like entities that generate revenue for the city and operate separately from the city's general fund, including the Fargo Dome and regional utilities. And here again, we can see that that's going to have an increase. It's grown 36% over the last 10 years, and that will grow at a 13% rate as we go forward. The City of Fargo has a robust history of making significant investments in our police and our fire departments. This chart details all the public safety positions we have added over the last 11 years. These numbers include 15 firefighters who will staff our new fire station number 8. That station is set to open this fall and will begin serving growing neighborhoods in the Fargo South End. In 2019, the salary structure for public safety was adjusted to adjust the range spread from 30% to 48%. This was done as a necessary adjustment to remain market competitive. You might remember we were having issues with recruiting people. Our human resource team has continued to work with consultants to intend to implement a new salary structure for all our city staff. This has been discussed annually as part of a compensation strategy. The city's budget has not been able to support further adjustment to salary structure for all city employees except for a cost of living adjustment. The public safety employees are operating on a different salary structure than our non-public safety employees. Our HR team, along with the consultants, presented options for a new salary structure to the commissioners earlier this month. As this project continues, the goal of adopting compensation philosophy, a new salary structure that is market competitive and aligned with budget priorities. In essence, we do need the commissioners to weigh in on this because we are presented a variety of different options of what we needed to do, and many of you asked, what are we trying to fix? What are we trying to make better? What do we want to do better? So that will continue with the HR department to work on getting information and consulted work on that. I do want you to understand, however, this chart shows visually the different salary structure of public safety employees compared to other city employees. So it shows 11 pay steps for equipment operator 3 compared to the steps of a firefighter at the same grade. And this is what we talked about, double steps. This graph of pay creates the position. This illustrates a gap in pay created in positions with the 30% spread versus the 49% under different salary structures. On the next chart, you'll see a comparison between 11 pay steps in equipment technical and a police officer of the same grade. There are 34 positions at a grade 11. There are 36 at a grade 12. The positions on this slide and previous one were chosen only for illustrative purposes, but you can see the difference if we do a 48 versus a 30 stepwise. Overall, because we want to implement a new pay structure, we want to achieve 4 goals with the new pay structure. 1 is to be market competitive. 2 is employee retention and satisfaction with pay. 3 is employment recruitment. And we want to align with our compensation philosophy. I think the commissioners are critical to the philosophy of compensation. You have to input what we want. We also believe a new pay structure would help lower turnover rates with city staff. Those rates are shown on this table. City of Fargo saw its turnover rates jump around the time of the pandemic, and we have not seen a substantial decline of that number. The city's turnover rate is lower than the trends we see in other national sectors. However, we don't like the fact that it has got up to this level. Our goal is to reduce the rate because it takes about 6 months to train a new employee, and the associated training costs of a new employee equate to 6 to 9 months of salary. This chart shows where our employees sit on steps with their assigned pay grade. About 30% of Team Fargo is at the maximum pay grade. This is something, as a new commissioner, it's hard to realize, but a lot of people have hit their top. So really the only way they advance, they don't get no more steps. COLA is the only way they get any salary adjustment. The budget team philosophy for 2025 budget is to prioritize existing Team Fargo employees' compensation over new general fund positions. This was done to support Team Fargo staff members who are currently providing excellent services to our residents, and our residents have come to expect excellent services. Additionally, we know the workforce currently is a dynamic one. People have choices, and many will have multiple careers in their lifetime, so we must respond to the times. The way to do that is by offering competitive pay, rewarding longevity, treating employees with respect, and recognizing the hard work they do. Keeping that in mind, the priorities of this proposed budget sets an existing Team Fargo staff are: number 1, cost of living adjustment. Number 2, longevity pay. Number 3, reclassifications. And number 4, on-call pay. Many of Team Fargo employees are on call throughout the week and serve the public outside of regular hours. Historically, on-call pays were paid 1 hour at 1.5 times the rate of pay only on unscheduled days. The proposed increase is 2 hours at 1.5 times the regular rate for unscheduled days. It is also proposed to add a new on-call pay for scheduled days at 1 hour and on-call pay at 1.5 times the regular rate. This will acknowledge the disruption an employee's life has as they continue to answer the call when they're off duty and have to come back to work. The City of Fargo also offers monthly longevity pay for employees who have been here 5 or more years of service. Last year, we adjusted this. So in City of Fargo, we implemented the first phase of increasing longevity pay in 2024. And employees began to receive longevity pay at 5 years rather than waiting until 10 years to receive additional pay. This was the first adjustment to this policy since 1999. This budget proposes implementing Phase 2 to increase current longevity pay by an additional $25 an hour, which was originally imposed in '24. In general, longevity pay impacts a large number of city employees, but does not have a huge impact on the budget. It is a welcome benefit that helps set the City of Fargo apart as an employer. Approximately 50 positions were recommended for reclassification in 2025 due to significant changes in responsibilities. This includes requests originally submitted in the 2024 budget cycle. A lack of funding necessitated placing requests on hold throughout 2024. I want our city employees to know that we appreciate and support their work. We have an obligation to honor our commitment to those who are serving in positions that evolve and now require higher levels of responsibility. This table shows the cost of living adjustment the City of Fargo has done since 2019 compared with the Consumer Price Index, a key indicator of inflation. As you can see, our COLA has not kept pace with the Consumer Price Index. We recognize this has been a difficult time of inflation. Our workers are faced with high prices for food, fuel, many other goods and services, as well as anticipated increase in employer health insurance premiums. To ensure that Team Fargo is appropriately compensated, the budget team is recommending a 5% COLA. Now, I'd like to cover the operating expenses impact in the City of Fargo. This slide demonstrates a variety of increased expenses that affect the budget. A transition to software as a service has required additional funds for nearly every department. The related costs typically escalate annually. Xcel Energy has proposed raising natural gas and electric rates by 10%. We have seen an increased third-party contracts involving labor, such as architect and engineering services, cleaning, mechanical services, and part-time temporary labor. We have been notified that the premiums we pay for property insurance will increase by at least 25% in the 2025 renewals. And there will be a new general fund debt service for the 2024 general obligation bond. The annual payment is $1.7 million. We do get to offset the Board of State's electric lease payment of $1 million, so that does help in that. Across city departments, we are seeing technology becoming a significant expense. This vital technology improves public safety and maintains excellence in the field, including location services, GIS, and surveying. Examples also include maintenance associated with the Fargo Police Department flock cameras that provide the added layer of security throughout our community, as well as software and tablets and maintenance management systems for our facilities. As I mentioned earlier, the City of Fargo is leading conversations with Metro partners of how to fund MATBOS operations in the future. The general fund includes the new budget dollars for a $3.5 million transfer to support MATBOS operations. In 2024, the change in federal grant formula resulted in $600,000 less in annual funding received by Fargo. Aid from the state of North Dakota has been relatively flat. We plan to collaborate with our area legislators and transit agency across the state to develop a funding model for ridership. Exponential growth in expenses was due to the following: contract bus driver services, fuel costs, contract security services, and in-the-house salaries. Next, I'd like to discuss capital expenses. These are one-time expenses that come out of the Capital Fund 475. And again, many of these technologically related expenses that help our departments be more effective and efficient. This includes replacement of legacy software and new hardware tools. This pie chart next shows how our proposed general fund budget would go towards personnel and operating expenses and capital expenses. As you see, salaries and benefits at Team Fargo make up the largest part of our budget at 74%. It's followed by operating costs of 25%. The small dollar amount in capital is outside Fund 475 and is less than 0.25%. This table provides an overview of the 2025 draft budget for the city's general fund expenses. You can see that it's proposing a $13.8 million increase to the general fund expenses for the 2025 budget compared to 2024. That is one of the biggest jumps we've had as a commission, and you can see there's a variety of different expenses that go with that. Next table shows mainly what has changed in the budget from 24 to 25. We have increased in salaries and benefits representing $8.7 million. Other significant costs include required transfer of funds for transit and new debt service, along with inflationary costs. All other spending was curbed. The next section will present revenues generated by the City of Fargo. The pie chart outlines the general fund revenues in the proposed budget. It is important to note that the taxes only make up 34% of the pie. The other 66% of city general fund revenues come from a variety of sources. This sort of diversification puts us on a sound fiscal footing, but it also helps to minimize the tax burden on the residents. The table on the next slide shows the general fund revenues in 25 compared to 24. You will see there's a $13.8 million increase in revenues. The total revenue figure mirrors the $13.8 million increase in expenses, which brings the general fund and expense revenue dollars into balance, giving us a balanced budget. The next slide highlights the changes to the general fund revenue as we move from 24 to 25. We benefit from the growth in property taxes and higher investment returns. The financial equivalent of 2 additional mills is needed to support the 2025 budget. We will discuss that later in the presentation. Due to additional funds that have not been expended in Fund 475, we are able to bring a larger transfer than we had in the past of $4.5 million in the transfer funds. These tables now show the increases the city saw in property tax revenue. We had a 3% increase in resident value, and we had a 2.4% increase in commercial value. We went from a mill levy of 802 to 843. One of the things I like to point out is that property taxes generated by our commercial and residential properties in the City of Fargo are nearly even. That takes some of the tax burden off the Fargo homeowners. The balance of commercial and residential is something our neighbors to the east and the west do not see. The 2025 draft budget continues our commitment of dedicating 2 mills to public safety. The money that will allow the Fargo Fire Department to cover incremental costs of funding the 15 fire positions brought on in mid-2024 and signed to Fire Station number 8. These funds also go towards a major remodel of Fire Station number 5. For the Fargo Police Department, these mills will allow them to cover increasing expenses for 6 grant-funded officers, along with added technology, vehicles, and ballistic helmets to protect our officers. The City of Fargo has a general obligation bond that's set to be issued in the fall of 2024, and the first annual debt payment of $1.7 million is due in 2025. This bond will go for funding the list of projects you see here. One of those is Fargo's contribution to the new state-of-the-art Red River Regional Dispatch Center, which is built on Fargo City land. Years ago, it was Fargo that brought together the different entities to form the dispatch center. Once again, it's Fargo that took the lead in the new dispatch center. I want to acknowledge Fire Chief Steve Dirksen for his leadership on this project. He has worked tirelessly to keep the project on track and ensure its success. Thank you, Chief, for your dedication to public safety. Another revenue item that is proposed is utility tax increases for water reclamation, water, and stormwater services. This increase was discussed with the Commission on July 11th. The increase would be about $10 a month for a utility customer. That equates to about 33 cents a day. This rate increase has been programmed into our utilities' long-range planning and is the result of sound management and planning. With the proposed rate increase, I want to point out the strategies our utilities have used to keep water bills down through our infrastructure sales tax, leveraging grants, and providing regional service for customers outside of Fargo. Here you see how water utilities contain costs. The actual water charge is $37.15, but without those rate containments, the bill would jump to $60. That's a cost savings of 37.9% for our residents every month. Similarly, this slide shows how water reclamation and utility efforts to contain costs have kept customers' bills from rising from $21.50 to $38. This is a saving reduction of 43.5%. All told, Fargo's utility costs are amongst the lowest in the region when you compare us to other peer cities. When we hear from Fargo residents about our property tax bills, it's important to remember that the city's share of those property taxes amounts to 2 dimes on the dollar, or every 20 cents, for the services that our residents and businesses have come to expect day in and day out. So I think it's important to put in perspective when we are engaging in property tax discussion how much of your tax bill is actually the city of Fargo, and we continue to be around the range of 20%. This next table shows the history of the city mill levy over the last 15 years, or last 11 years, excuse me, to fund the proposed 2025 budget and its corresponding 5% COLA. We as Commission collectively need to find a financial equivalent of 2 additional mills. There are several options for this, and I'm looking forward to hearing your comments on this in a few minutes. On Monday, we met as a commission with the members of the Municipal Airport Authority to review the airport's 2025 mill levy request. On Tuesday, they actually did present their 2025 budget. It would have been helpful to have us see that on Monday. It shows that in 2025, they'll have a net operating revenue of $4.6 million in operating revenue as a profit, and that'll be transferred to savings. This report also shows that 2025 is going to have a net increase of $2.5 million over 2024. The Commission's memorandum of understanding with the Airport Authority encourages dialogue with us so we can decide how many mills the Airport Authority receive each year. And the question which Strand put to them is, what are you going to use our mills for? That was one of the things about the memorandum. In reviewing the airport's financial situation with the city's financial team, I've concluded that the airport has capacity to forego its usual 2 mills in 2025. Number one, the airport has $55 million of cash on hand. Number two, the 10-year average of operating revenue has been $3.5 million a year. The net operating revenue budget for 2025 is $4.67 million, which is slated to be transferred to savings. Other annual funding includes non-operating revenue, passenger fees, and federal capital entitlements. 2023, it was approximately $9 million. In 2023, the airport's interest income was $1.8 million. That amount alone exceeds the $1.6 million that the airport would receive from the 2 mills. There's no question the City of Fargo remains committed to the airport. The way the present funding structure is, there's no slowdown in construction. The $40 million goes to the parking structure. We've already taken that out. We guaranteed it as a commission with a 5-0 vote to guarantee that particular funding. We have provided the airport with 2 mills of funding per year since 1996 for a total of $19.68 million, which has filled their coffers. The city is guaranteeing the airport's $40 million Bank of North Dakota loan for the parking ramp project. The city is also a backstop for any additional airport bonds. The city is also committed on ongoing conversations regarding the airport's mill request in future budget years, and by our agreement, we're supposed to discuss that every year. For those who don't know, the Fargo taxpayers are the sole funders of public mills for the Metro-wide Hector International Airport. There have been discussions among Fargo officials and the airport authority members about developing a regional airport financial model so other local jurisdictions can share in the cost in the airport. As a mayor and as looking at these plans, I see no reason why construction on the airport we stopped in any way by not having the two mills. And in fact, in discussion, it may stop because federal money doesn't come through, because it is made that you cannot get federal money to back pay if you took a construction loan out. So any federal project that there is federal money in it, they have to have the federal money before they go ahead. And Commissioner Strand, you know they have stages for that. If they don't get the federal money, it'll slow down. There's stages for the remodel of the airport. In discussion with Senator Hoeven, assured that the $88 million would come from the federal partner. In discussion with Governor Burgum, we talked about the $60 million they're going to get from the state. I'm confident the airport, as it goes along, will do very well, and just say that I would like us to consider whether or not they would need their two mills this year. In addition, I understand that they have construction savings and the parking around project may be underestimated. But let me be unequivocally clear. The City Commission will continue to be a strong partner of the Airport Authority. We want the work that they're doing that's going on. We're very excited about the remodel. We're very excited about the additions to the airport and what's going to happen in our community. And we need to be a regional leader in the airport industry. We will work with the airport, but we really need to understand the justification of the two mills. I've heard from the Airport Authority, I've heard from city employees and our human resource staff. We as a City Commission have stated that compensation for Team Fargo is critically important. As we continue to evaluate pay structure, our budget team has advanced a proposal to reach compensation level as an interim approach. The team is proposing a 5% COLA. Our budget team has determined we can find financial equivalent of 2 additional mills of revenue in some manner to fund this proposed budget. This slide will give you the options as I see it. We have 3 ways to reach 5% COLA, as well as ways to hit a 4 or a 3% COLA. In one of the ways, we take 1 mill from the airport and we would find another mill we take from residents. In another way, you'd take no mills, do no mills, but only have a 3% COLA. But it gives you as a commission some options of what you'd want to do. Now, I think it's important to remember, if you do a net mill increase, that would equate to $15 a mill per year for the average homeowner in Fargo. So if you do 1 mill, it's $15.30. If it's 2 mills, it's $30 a year. And like I said in this presentation, I don't have all the answers. I'm looking for, what is your input on this? So at this point, I want to open discussion with the commissioners on a COLA for employers. We need to, as a team, come together for a path forward. I believe because of open meeting laws, I can't ask you individually on this question because that violates open meeting laws. But in an open meeting, I can ask you for your opinion on this and give the budget team some ideas of where you want to go. My goal is to have a substantial conversation now on the COLA topic at this time to know what your current thoughts and know what you want as a commissioner. Instead of having discussions with administration and finance later date, I'm asking to have those now in public so we know what your preferences are. Do you want 5? Do you want 4? Do you want 3? And what are the ramifications to each one of those? I actually give you some choices on the one slide that you had seen. But this is really about Team Fargo, and we've committed to do something about compensation. So I'll open it up to 4 commissioners, but would like your input on this.
Mayor, I'm curious about the fire department and police department. We last year increased 2 mills for public safety. Could we have a sense of how that was applied?
That was in the report, John. When I show those 2 mills, where we're spending it this year is what's in there.
But where did it go?
Can we go back to the slide, please? We'll draw that up for you.
If I remember right, we were last year, the police department asked for 13. We gave them 2, and then we were hoping and praying they'd get a grant for COPS grant for six new police officers last year.
Yep.
And now this year, we're talking about funding those 6 as a continuation in the police?
It's all in this. The increase in expenses for the 6 granted officers, 100,000. And then the flock, you really like that flock idea, but we found out maintenance costs about 180,000. And then ballistic helmets are very critical to the department. We're doing 127,000 this year, and squad cars we're expanding.
So this
last year we spent it on staffing. This year we're spending on this. I'm not hiring any new police officers this year.
So this is 25s, not last year's.
Well, Mike, can you answer last year's, where we spent it?
Thank you for the question, Commissioner. So we did provide that breakout earlier, and what I'm happy to do is find that. We don't have it in this slide deck, but we do have that. Last year, we had talked about other community safety priorities as well as the public safety departments, and we do have that detail, and I wrote that down.
And I'll stop as I recall, we added 2 mills to bring it up to 55 with the intent of that being used for public safety and which included fire department and police and harm reduction primarily. And that was last year. I'm concerned about this year. There's no police officers added? Well, there's the 6 that were granted.
John, actually, what in general fund, we're not adding any positions. So typically, you two have, the commission has seen 10 to 20 people added every year. We are adding no employees.
And no police officers?
No police officers.
Okay, I'll let the others talk for a
15 firefighters, but we have to, do the station. Dave, you want to say something?
Just a couple of quick things. To talk about the airport, I would not support the eliminating the 2 mills for the airport. I would support next year, the parking ramp is going to be coming online in August. That's the projection anyway. And so then after that, their revenues will be much improved. And so I would support next year reducing it by $0.5 million, anticipating that. But for us to do the 2 mills right now, especially when, I would say part of the reason that the ramp got built was our encouragement. And so that doesn't sit well with me. And so the other question, it's to go along with John, I want to know that last year, where did those mills go? We were told it was for public safety. I want to see exactly where that is. The other thing, it doesn't show the past 5 years of the history of the mills. And right now, this is a runaway train of spending.
Show the mills.
No, don't interrupt me.
Oh, we have the mills here.
And the other thing I'll say, where are the spending reductions? Every department has potential areas where they can reduce spending. I don't see one. And so I expect to see that as well. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Susan, you want to explain the projections?
Well, we did go through all, as the Mayor mentioned, kind of line by line. We've been looking for efficiencies, looking at more of a centralized purchasing to do purchasing policy, purchasing power for that way. We will be spending more time looking through all of our software as a service. As we mentioned, everybody knows, looking around your own home, how expensive technology has become. We need to look for ways to be more efficient. So currently we're, as you know, transitioning to a new software. So we're paying for the old and the new for a few years. That will roll off. There's a slide in the future talking about our commitment for budgeting. This is not the end. We're going to start right away again for next year and start scrubbing through all of those as well. To answer your question, though, the mills that you mentioned, we said last year's really this current year. So what we've spent this year is we will be hiring, 15 of the firefighters, but only for 6 months. So basically, we paid for half of those firefighters, and we're also paying for the non-grant funded portion of the police officers that were added. In addition, police and fire have, numerous requests for additional safety items. Those things have a shelf life, so they need to be replaced on a pretty regular basis. So I don't have the list off the top of my head, but we could easily come up with.
We can get the list to you in the time. The COLA was a question as well, Dave.
Just one more comment. I think we hear talk about the staff and the city. What about the residents paying the property taxes for all these bills? This is going to have an impact on property taxes. And there's a lot of people, and I heard more and more this year, they're starting to not be able to afford property taxes and having to sell their home. And so that's the other concern. I think we need to concern ourselves with the people that are paying these bills, not just how to spend all this money. Thank you.
The COLA question. What type of COLA would you like for the employees, Dave? 543.
My opinion is 3.5. That would be my, and I know you only 543 is the options, but to me, 3.5 is good. I think that's in ballpark with the other cities in the area, but that's just me. But this is the preliminary too, Mayor. I do realize that, and that's just my opinion at this point. So thank you.
West Fargo is 4%. I think the county's 4%, just so you know. Mr. Kolpak.
Yeah, a couple comments here. There's a lot of information. I assume we're going to be getting this at the end of the presentation to study all of this information. I want to start by first talking about my preference for a COLA. As we saw from the information earlier this year, Fargo's behind in every department, including fire, but every department we're behind. And I would support at least 4.5% to 5% increase in COLA, and we need to continue, number one, to look at ways to continue to increase COLA the following year, and also take a really good hard look at benefits. I know we've had a conversation about looking differently in fire at benefits. I've asked that question now at least 4 times on what we're going to do around benefits with fire, and that needs to be a priority, and I'll leave that comment there. Regarding the airport, I think we have a missed opportunity to talk about the relationship and what's happened there as part of this separation. But looking back at the history of the mills with the city of Fargo, it has been fluctuating historically. And there are different reasons for the fluctuations over the years. The distinguished chair of the airport authority shared that the airport used to get 4 mills at our meeting, and they came back to the city and said, we don't need 4, let's go down to 2. And the city absorbed those 2 mills at that time. I think that was an important piece of historical information for this commission to consider. In 1992, the mills went from 2 to 1. I'm not sure what year they went back up to 2, but that was before the separation in 2021. In hindsight, that separation in 2021 was clearly the right decision, because look at the strength that has happened with the airport authority since that separation happened. And the memorandum of understanding that was drafted at the time was a brilliant piece of collaboration, in my opinion. It requires that every year the airport authority come before the city commission and justify their request for 2 mills. It is not a guarantee. It is specifically articulated in the MOU that it is not a guarantee. And for the airport authority, respectfully, to build in automatically 2 mills into their projections, I think was an oversight. Having said that, looking at the financials currently of the airport authority, given their reserve levels and the fact that their interest on their reserves this year alone will be more than 2 mills. I struggle with their need for 2 mills as opposed to where the city is with all of these other anticipated expenses. The city of Fargo expenses have gone up, the hard expenses, 20% over the last 3 years. Those are real numbers in every organization and business. Having said all of that, I will not support increasing our property taxes to the resident by 2 mills on top of 2 mills for the airport. So I would like to see either 1 or 2 mills come to the city of Fargo for 2025, and then next year the airport can come back and make their request again with their justification to support the COLA of at least 4.5 to 5%. And then we need to take a good hard look at the following year and what we're going to do around all benefits, as well as pay for the next year. So those are my thoughts, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Strand.
Thank you, Mayor. I just, you know, I helped author that MOU with the airport. I'm the only one at the Airport Authority Board right now that was there when that process unfolded and when we created that MOU. And at that time, when we were exploring our new relationship, I was the one I was also surprised that I thought the separation meant they would stand on their own feet financially, but that evolved. And to the point where we clarified that, of course, we appoint their board, and we have the ability to appoint, at their request, up to 4 mills. The airport wouldn't be building a parking ramp right now if we hadn't pushed them into that, real frankly. It was our request that pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. It was our involvement with the approach to how to finance the airport and how to work with the state and how to work with the feds. It's our commitment that our word needs to be worth something. Our integrity lies on our standing with our agreements. I know, yes, of course it's tough right now, but we asked them to do this and they're delivering what we asked them to do. I just can't fathom at that point, we would now, at this point, pull our support financially right now from the airport. My thoughts are we get it cash flowing, we get their parking ramp making money, then we say thank you for going that path we asked you to go, and now that you're making more, hopefully, cash flow on it, then we can get some relief. This is not the time to back out of our commitments. And I believe their commitments with the airport. So that said, I'm curious how property taxes look going forward and the implications of this on property taxes. I think it's compelling us. We need to do something for senior citizens and people on fixed incomes and give them some tax relief. That's where the hard hit is. So I'm hoping we can evolve something for that. With regard to the fire and police, the community is not going to be accepting that we're not going to grow our police force with the challenges we have in the community. They're going to look at you and go, you're not listening to us. You have to listen to us. Yes, we hear that there are concerns, and there are, about property taxes and escalating costs and escalating utility fees and all these services. But they're demanding more public safety on the streets every day, all the time. And I'm not sure the answer to that. But I'm not sure the answer is just new policemen either, or officers. But we need to address the concerns of the people. And fire department, you know, we have a principal commitment here to provide expedient, fast service to every edge of the community, and that's requiring us to build station number 8 and 15 new firemen in that. But we also know, the community also knows that our entry-level firemen are getting base $18 and something an hour. You can almost get that at McDonald's. So that's a real concern in my mind. And then I'll say it. We have a fire department that's talking about having to ask, they're thinking maybe the answer to this is to ask the public for a vote of a sales tax to get them to the level of sustainability that they feel they need to have so they don't have turnover like they do. Our fire department is talking about going out for a sales tax increase because we're not, in their minds, in reality, adequately funding them to keep their force in place. So these are really, I don't think we have any choice but to address public safety, grow our police force, support our fire department, honor our commitment with the airport, give our employees what they deserve. I hear Moorhead's going to 6% for 3 years for a COLA. I don't know that, but that's what I've just heard. We need to build some relief in there. I'm still in our budget looking for where we can make some savings. You know, I don't know where potential savings are. The state, I'm hearing, is talking about a 3% budget increase or decrease across the board, just as an exercise. We've seen that before. But there have to be some areas where we can trim and pull in our budget. I don't know. For example, I look at our fleet of vehicles. Do we need the fleet every year to keep growing the way it does, or can we find some efficiencies in sharing vehicles and not buying new vehicles and taking a year break from purchasing some of those items? But no, I would rather have us explain to the public we're going up to 59 mills. We're honoring our commitments with our staff and our workforce and our people, and that we're going to honor our commitment with the airport authority, and that we're going to do our level best to give you some relief, but we need to deliver services to the people. The safety stuff is just front burner. Public safety, public safety, public safety. I'll stop at that for the moment, Mayor.
How big a COLA, John, 5%?
5%.
Okay. Just a couple of inaccuracies. Starting firefighter is $27 an hour. I don't know where the $18 came from.
Came from the
Starting
letter to the editor.
firefighter makes $56,000 a year. Get out of high school, going through training makes $56,000 a year. So that's not $18 an hour. $56,000 a year is not $18 an hour.
Didn't they publish a letter to the editor indicating that?
I can't comment to that, but I
Okay,
could have Jill, what is starting wage for fire?
Yes, so as the mayor had indicated, the annual is 56,172. The hourly rate on the 2,080 hour scale is 2694. But I think you're referring to those on shift who are working 2,912 hours. In '24, that rate is 1929 when an hour. But again, it equates either the 2,080 or the 2912 schedule equates to the 56,000 starting per year, maximum at 84,000.
And is there something like a 30% turnover? What is the turnover rate in our fire department?
I will have to get back to you on that exact number.
The concern is there, John, you're not hitting that wrong. Used to be firefighters signed up and our retention rate was 95%. We're having firefighters quit at 5 years or move to different jobs. And Minnesota has higher wages, so we're competing against that. Grand Forks has higher wages, so we're a competitive market, there's no question about it. Other thing on the airport, one of the things when you got into that MOU was if they needed the money or had to need the money, presumption was built with the building project that they're going to have a worse year in '25. The difficulty with the data we showed, they're actually going to have 2.7 million more next year. So even the building project isn't affecting them. Number two, you've guaranteed the $40 million loan. If they can't pay for it, the city of Fargo has to raise $1 million to pay for it. They're well covered. We're fully committed to the airport. The difficulty we're having is it's late. They came in late with us with their request. And I would say, yeah, if they needed the $2 million for something, but you can't show me where they need the $2 million. And you requested that. It was your request. If you come in and ask for $2 million, where are you going to spend it? Not just put it in the piggy bank. Where are you going to spend it? And the funding on the airport, just so you all understand, 90% is covered by grants from the feds. So they're not anywhere like the city is where we got to pay for it or we got to find the funds for it. They're at a 90% reimbursement rate. So, and I'm sorry, the parking structure will not stop. It's on full schedule to be done by August of next year. There's nothing that would stop that because we're the guarantees. We're like the big brother on the loan. They have a mechanism to pay that. Payment might be 1.5 next year, and they have more than enough capital to pay for it right now. So the $2 million we give to the airport, I disagree with many of you, is that they need it for, they have to show us what they're going to use it for. And you in that MOU, I can go back to the minutes, when we went through that, you said, tell me where exactly are you going to spend the $1.6 million? Our meeting Monday was a disaster. It would have been nice to have better dialogue about where the money is going. But what I see on their projected budget for '25 and this what we had with Susan and I, they have more than enough funding for next year to do anything they want. So the real issue with 1.6 is put it in the bank. And I'd love to have that ability to put our money in the bank too, a reserve fund. We don't. Commissioner Pipcorn.
So, Mr. Chair, just a couple of comments about that. First of all, to tell that to them 2 days ago, that's not appropriate. This is not a light switch that you turn on and off, giving them the mills and not giving them the mills. So that was inappropriate. And to have it be a reason to fit into our budget, that's just poor management. And we wouldn't want them to treat us that way. We have to. So like I said, next year, you give them forewarning so they can prepare that and say, next year, we're anticipating you're going to have more revenues, and so then we're going to reduce it by $500,000. You give them fair warning. You don't do it 2 days ago. That's not
Commissioner
appropriate.
Pipcorn, they were asked 2 months ago to give us their budget. And they didn't give us their budget Monday. They gave the budget to the airport authority Tuesday. We have not received the budget for them. So when you say give
Chair,
them fair warning,
I was
I have
sitting-
asked for their budget for 2 months now. That's when I got it. And it's nothing in stone. We're just having a discussion. You don't want to take it, you don't have to take it. We're warning them. But again, in the MOU, they're supposed to tell us, why are you going to spend it and why do you need it? That 2 mills has helped to build the airport. So in smaller airports like Williston and Minot and other airports, they need 4 mills from their community to help them out. But they do not have what we have here. When you see the amount of money that they come by, they're going to have almost $5 million in excess revenue next year.
So, Mr. Chair, I was sitting in the chair. We were all there. It was 2 days ago. It was you saying we want to reduce it 2 mills. I was there. That was 2
I'm
days
not
ago.
disagreeing with
Not
that.
a month ago, not a
We
year
did-
ago.
But we did not get their budget on Monday, Dave. We only got that Tuesday when they had their meeting.
That perhaps lies on my shoulders, being the liaison to the airport, but my sense is we're very aware of this project. We're very aware that this development is happening. The terminal expansion is no surprise. We helped shape it. We helped organize, our people helped create the path forward for funding the parking ramp. It was our fingerprints are all over that. This is no surprise. It's just a formality that they come and present to us the ultimate look of things. It's, I know that we could find a way, we have a Fargo Dome vote coming up, and they have a $40 million surplus. We're not talking about that and their vote. And I wish we had that reserve also. But the reality is that reserve at the airport authority has grown up to the level where it's needed to be to go into this project that they're doing. And we get interest income too. Everybody does. Knock on wood, we get a little more than 0.5% for a moment in time. We're maybe getting 4% for a moment in time.
Commissioner Strand, I'm not debating that, but when we had our investment counselors who we rely on say, how many days cash on hand do you need? What do you need reserve fund? It's 400 to 600 days cash on hand. They have 3,300 days cash on hand. So number one, how big a reserve fund do you have? I'm just suggesting if you want to look at airport mills, you can look at them. If you don't want that as an option, fine. It's up to the commission. That's what I'm saying. It's one option. If we don't want to do it, Dave doesn't want to do it. If you don't want to do it, fine. I don't have any problem with that.
Then I'll
But
challenge
I feel they're fully funded. You could take a mill and it would harm them anyway. It would not stop any project, would not stop anything.
Then I would
If you don't want to
challenge-
do that, then you have to raise the mills too.
Then
And
I
to
would
Dave's
challenge our
point, you don't want to
commission-
raise the mills, so it gets a little dicey.
Then I challenge our commission to honor our integrity and be good for our word.
We are good to our word.
Well, then we-
guarantee every
we
loan that
stand
they
by
have,
the
John. We're
formula they-
guaranteed on that $40 million loan. They couldn't have got that $40 million loan without the city.
That $2 million is built into all of their formula all along. Pardon? The 2 mills is built into their financing all along. And everything they're doing is anticipating the city's partnership continuing as it's been.
When Commissioner Strand, when you and I have had a discussion about the 2 mills all the way through this, at some point you felt that we would be able to jettison the 2 mills. It is a belief in some time that you do not need the 2 mills. The question is always asked, when would they finally do that? So you've always talked about that. I've always talked about that. When we look about the revenue out of the parking structure, Hyde Bailey's comment was, you should have done this years ago, and yes, it'll make money. We even looked at, you got the proposals to me on the garage structure, should we share the revenue coming out, because there's more revenue than ever will need. So the reality is that we have had a discussion at some point of taking the 2 mills. Commissioner Pepcorn, one year we had a motion to not take the mills, to take the mills. We have discussed this before. This has not been a new area. If the commission doesn't want to take it, I'm fine. You got to figure out your options. You go up 2 mills, put it in public. Do you take a mill from the airport? Do you take 2 mills from the airport? What do? Do you go 4.5? Do you go 5? You want a 5 COLA. Dave wants a 3.5. Colpack 4.5 to 5. Commissioner Turnberg?
I feel like I'm jumping into a hornet's nest. Well, I would obviously like to see a 5% as recommended for the COLA. I think that goes along the lines with what is appropriate for a city our size. That being said, if the 2 mills was something that was promised or agreed upon before to the airport, I feel like we should live up to that. But looking at the money that they're getting from the state and from Congress and what they have in their reserve funds, our small 2 COLAs don't seem like it adds up to a whole lot. with the money that they're sitting on now compared to what we need and for our firefighters, our police, our workers. You know, are there other areas that we can cut? I'd like to take a closer look at that. Do we still need DEI? Is that something that's being cut around the country? I don't know if that's something that is a priority. I'd like to see, I guess, I'm talking with some of the airport authority members today. I'll get their input. I'd like to see us stick by the 2 mills if that's what was promised. But if it's not something that they need and they're already getting that money from the state and Congress, then maybe they don't need it.
Commissioner Pipcorn?
So just to go along with that, I would like us to explore actually reducing spending. DEI is one of potential, actually I met with the staff already about this, the Downtown Engagement Center, the Health Department, communications, to me, all those are ripe for reduced spending. To give you an example, the Downtown Engagement Center, that's one of our most valuable properties in the city of Fargo that the city has. And right now, what it should be done is that should be removed out of there. We should actually develop that property and we'd actually be getting more revenue to help pay for some of this. So we need to explore more reduced spending. That's a priority, way more than considering how many more mills to raise. Because I think we're not considering the property taxpayers who are paying the bills. Thank you.
So there is a planned element in that, Commissioner Pepcorn, to move the engagement center out of its present location. And to your point, the property then could be sold as well as the public health building, and it could bring some revenue in for one-time projects. Health Department is going to look at grant funding to help cover some of the costs and/or working with West Fargo and Fargo to help cover some of the costs. We will look at that intently to look at those things. And just for those comments that we've made about maybe we could look at this department or that department, you share that with Michael and Brenda, and we will look into those things as we go along with this budget. If there's some areas where any of the commissioners say, hey, I'd really like you to look at that, we're happy to do that. There's ramifications of everything we do. If we do this, this might happen, or do this, that might happen. Police force does like the deck because it does bring less calls to them and fire downtown as well. So there's a trade-off of each one of what we would try to do. But the team, Brenda's working with the team, and we're committed to move the engagement center from its present location because that's been something a lot of people have asked us to do. But we're servicing 40 to 50 people a day, and those people would otherwise migrate or be in the downtown area. So we need to have some way of managing the issues that are in that.
It's 75 people a day, just
75, John. Yeah, I mean, it's a fair amount of people, so, and camping we have to address. So there's some issues we have to address outside the budget, what I'm not going to go into today right now. Thank you for your input. Did you have
I
one
want
more
to
thing?
make one more comment about the airport mills and be very clear here. I absolutely support the work going on at the airport. The memorandum of understanding states that every year they have to come before the commission and justify the request and explain where the funds will go. I think what's getting lost here is the 2 mills are not the airport. The 2 mills are the taxpayers' mills. And we need to look at where the taxpayer funds are most efficiently spent in total. And right now, the airport clearly, for the next year, has the funding it needs to continue the work, and 1.6 million is not going to stop the project. And next year, they will come back and make the request again, and historically, like we've seen, it has fluctuated, and it's a strong partnership, and it's a strong relationship. And so I think let's not get lost that ultimately it's the taxpayer that owns those 2 mills because they're the ones paying for it.
a few years ago, Commissioner Pepcorn was the liaison to the airport authority, and we were at odds, and you walked out of a meeting because it was so just contentious, you know, it was contentious. We weren't on the same page at all. We weren't even communicating well, and we were at the point of the airport relationship was about to implode, right? I'm going to have a really difficult time walking back to the airport authority, looking them in the eyes and saying, nope, we're not going to give you what we promised.
John, we didn't
We
promise it.
committed, the commitments is understood. That's my understanding of it, is that's built into their formula. And I just couldn't imagine that we would, at this late hour, the 11th hour, we had a groundbreaking for $200 million worth of projects, and we're there smiling. And then we're going to take and turn up 2 weeks later and say, we're not going to maybe give you that little investment. And it's little. I will have a difficult time sitting at that table and representing this board. They may walk out on us like Commissioner Pepcorn did.
I don't think we'll get to that,
I'm just
John.
saying,
I'm just saying, we'll carry that another time. I have to finish the presentation because I promised you an hour and I'm beyond that right now. I want to make a moment to stress our ongoing commitments. As budget, we'll have a preliminary budget that's going to come to you on August 5th. And the only thing, if it's a 2 mil increase, we have to at least place that in there. If we can bring it down 2 mils, then we bring it down. I'm not arguing either part of that, but when I bring it to you on the 5th, we basically, if the 2 mils is considered, that has to be part of the preliminary budget. If we find as a commission ways of saving and not going to that level, then we would knock it down. I want to take a moment to stress our ongoing commitments to 2026 and beyond. Time, discipline, patience, and commission collaboration are all vital components. We're continuing to evaluate effectiveness and efficiencies with departments and initiatives. We're prioritizing Team Fargo via staffing for success and revitalizing compensation and benefit plans. We are seeking alternative funding resources for MAT bus through legislative outreach, for Fargo County Public Health harm reduction and division through boomerang and grants. We're assessing fee structures and expenses to enhance rates, ensure rates cover all applicable expenses while balancing market competitiveness. We're engaging in education regarding overall interrelationship city funds and projects. We remain aware of the importance of reserves and we're working towards development of codified reserve policy. We are utilizing purchasing power to save costs and create efficiencies via expansion of centralized purchasing. We're working on board the Enterprise Resource Program project, which will allow the ease of use of financial reporting. This will go live in April of 2025, and in the 2027 budget, we'll fully incorporate that technology. And it is the first time in 10 years as mayor, I have not added any new positions to the general fund. To your question on fire and police, we will, quote, be fully staffed. We will try innovative ways of managing what we have to manage, but a new police officer costs between $100,000 and $150,000 a year, just to staff up and do stuff. Commissioner Strand's idea on cars, we are most efficient of how many years we use a car, how long we use a car, when maintenance costs are bigger or less. We don't turn every year, we turn every 4 to 5 years. Finally, Fargo is a great place to live. We're not the only ones that think that. I'd like our meeting to end on a positive note, so it'd be better for us to go out of here feeling better. So we had an article written by Emily Handy of Livability that wrote an excellent article about the city of Fargo. And here's the quotes of her writing. There's no denying it. Fargo is just cool. This artsy, vibrant city is the state's largest, and it continues to grow as more and more young people and families choose to call Fargo home. This community boasts a surging economy with strong high-tech presence, high-quality healthcare, outstanding education, and entertainment galore, including easy access to the stunning North Dakota outdoors. Fargo is quickly becoming the Midwestern tech startup hotspot. Fargo is a welcoming community with a perfect balance between small-town charm and big city fun. Fargo isn't all work and no play. Entertainment and recreation opportunities are virtually endless here. As evidenced by its high-tech presence, Fargo is smart. Fargo's diverse and thriving economy has seen huge growth in manufacturing, medical, and technical industries. Access to high-quality health care and affordable cost of living are two more of Fargo assets. Forget Southern hospitality. Some of the nicest people you ever meet live here in Fargo. North Dakota nice is the real thing, and it's alive and well in the city. with someone always willing to lend a hand and offer a smile. So let's incorporate North Dakota nice, try to figure out this budget, try to figure out what we can do for the citizens of Fargo. And as all my commissioners have stated, our full focus is on the taxpayer. It's the taxpayer and the ability for them to pay the bills they have to pay, and the ability for us to come up with a budget that's reasonable for them. But the other part of this is the City of Fargo employees and what we have to do for them and what we have to be competitive in the market. So it's always a difficult discussion, expense versus revenue, where we land. But I'm hoping you land fairly, squarely behind your employees and also be responsible in how you spend taxpayers' money. And I think in the campaign this year, that's what we heard. People wanted us to be responsible, cut expenses where you can cut expenses, find revenue where you can find revenue, and give great service. Finally, it's really that great service the City of Fargo does for all our citizens. We are one of the best cities in the world as far as I know, and when I have the third graders come in my office, they leave with this chant, Fargo is the greatest city in the world, and that's truly what I believe. We have a city that we should be proud of. Budget times are always difficult for us, and we'll get through it, but I'm trying to let this be more open for the commissioners to be really part of my budget, and our community. So we took a picture on the bridge, and this is a picture of a commission as I see it that wants to work together, and that's what we're going to do. Thank you.